The notification popped up on my phone while I was reviewing code at my desk. Your access to Hammond Family Cloud has been revoked by the administrator. I smiled and took a sip of my coffee. After 7 years of marriage to their son and 3 years since the divorce, the Hammond family had finally pulled the trigger. They deleted me from the family cloud storage, erasing my access to 8 years of photos, videos, and memories. What they didn't know was that they just triggered something much more significant than a simple account deletion. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an automated message from my own server. Dead man's switch activated. Deletion detected at 2:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Data package will be sent to designated recipients in 24 hours unless manual override code is entered. I didn't enter the override code. Let me back up. I'm Iris Walker, formerly Iris Hammond. I married into the Hammond family when I was 23, young and naive enough to think that love conquered all. My ex-husband, Bradley Hammond, came from old money, the kind of family that had wings named after them at hospitals and libraries. His parents, Margaret and Theodore Hammond, tolerated me at first. I was a software engineer from a middle-class family, but at least I was smart and presentable. The tolerance ended when I discovered what the Hammond family really did with their fortune. It started innocently enough. 3 years into my marriage, Theodore asked me to help modernize their family systems. "You're so good with computers, dear," he'd said with that patronizing smile. "Perhaps you could help us organize our financial records better." I should have said no, but I wanted them to accept me, to see value in me beyond being Bradley's wife. So I built them a beautiful cloud storage system, complete with automated backups, encryption, and synchronized access across all their devices. I organized their photos, their documents, their entire digital life. That's when I found the first discrepancy. It was buried in a folder labeled Charitable Donations 2019. The Hammond Family Foundation, their nonprofit, was supposed to be building schools in Guatemala. The photos showed beautiful buildings with smiling children. But the metadata on those photos told a different story. They were stock photos, purchased from a photography website. The schools didn't exist. I dug deeper. The Hammond Family Foundation had raised over $50 million in the last decade. They built exactly 3 schools, total cost $400,000. The rest had been funneled through a complex web of shell companies in the Cayman Islands, eventually making its way back to the Hammond family accounts. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was finding the communications about me. Email threads between Margaret and Bradley discussing how long they should tolerate the gold digger. Messages about the prenup I'd signed, with Margaret bragging about how her lawyer had made it ironclad and that I'd never see a penny if Bradley divorced me. And finally, the messages planning Bradley's affair with Vivienne Cross, the daughter of their country club friends. The affair that would give him grounds for divorce while painting me as the neglectful wife. I confronted Bradley that night. He didn't even deny it. "It's just business, Iris," he'd said, as if orchestrating an affair was like arranging a merger. "Mother thinks Vivienne is a better fit for the family brand." The family brand. As if marriage was a corporate acquisition. I could have exposed them then. Should have, probably. But I was hurt, angry, and wanted to be smart about it. So I did what I do best. I coded. Over the next 6 months, while Bradley carried on his staged affair and his family prepared for the divorce they thought would leave me with nothing, I built my insurance policy. I created hidden partitions in their cloud storage system. Places where I copied every incriminating document, every fraudulent receipt, every piece of evidence of their tax evasion and charity fraud. Then I built the dead man's switch. It was elegant in its simplicity. As long as my account remained active in the family cloud, nothing would happen. But if my access was revoked, a timer would start. 24 hours later, unless I entered a specific override code, everything would be sent to the IRS, the FBI, the Attorney General's office, and every major news outlet in the country. I also did something else. I used my administrative access to set up a legitimate backup system for the Hammond Foundation, one that actually donated money to real charities. Every month, it would automatically transfer funds from their accounts to verified nonprofits. Small amounts at first, $10,000 here, $15,000 there. The kinds of amounts they wouldn't notice among their vast wealth. The divorce was brutal. Bradley's family painted me as a tech-obsessed workaholic who had neglected her marriage. They had photos of Bradley with Vivienne, looking happy and in love. They had witnesses who testified that I spent more time with computers than with my husband. The prenup held up exactly as Margaret had planned. I walked away with nothing but my personal belongings and my laptop. "You're nobody now," Margaret had whispered to me outside the courthouse. "Just another failed social climber who thought she could play in the big leagues. We're erasing you from our family history. You'll be deleted, just like you never existed." That was 3 years ago. For 3 years, I'd maintained minimal contact with the Hammond family, just enough to keep my access to the cloud storage active. I'd send Bradley birthday emails he never answered. I'd comment on family photos occasionally, just enough presents to avoid deletion. Meanwhile, the automatic donations had been running. The Hammond Foundation had unknowingly donated $3.7 million to actual charities over 3 years. Their accountant, William Frost, had noticed the discrepancies last year, but when he tried to investigate, he found paper trails so perfect, documentation so complete, that it looked like the Hammonds had simply become more generous. They couldn't deny donations that had their digital signatures, that came from their verified accounts, that had thank you letters from real children in real schools. They'd been forced to take credit for charity they'd never intended to do. But today, they'd finally decided I'd been forgotten long enough. Margaret had probably ordered it herself, a final act of erasure. Delete Iris Walker from the family cloud. Remove the last trace of her existence from our lives. My phone rang. It was Bradley. "Iris, it's me. Look, I don't know what you did, but you need to undo it. Now." "I don't know what you're talking about," I said calmly, putting him on speaker while I continued coding. "Don't play dumb. Mom got an automated email saying something about financial records being released to the IRS. It came from our cloud system. It has your digital signature all over it." "Oh, that." I minimized my code editor and pulled up the dead man's switch dashboard. "That's just an automated security system I installed years ago. You remember when your father asked me to help modernize your systems? Well, turn it off." "I can't. It's triggered by account deletion. You deleted my account, so the system assumes something catastrophic has happened. It's designed to preserve evidence in case of criminal interference." There was silence on the other end. Then, criminal interference? Well, yes. The system contains extensive financial records that might be relevant to ongoing investigations. If someone were to, say, delete an account to hide evidence, the system automatically reports everything to the authorities. It's actually a legal compliance feature. "Iris, this isn't funny. You need to stop this." I have 21 hours and, I checked the timer, 14 minutes to enter and override code. But here's the thing, Bradley. I don't think I want to. "What do you want? Money? Is that what this is about?" I laughed. "I don't want your money. I never did. I wanted a family. I wanted to belong. Instead, I got a masterclass in white-collar crime and emotional manipulation. Name your price." "There is no price. But there are conditions." I could hear muffled conversation in the background. Margaret's shrill voice, Theodore's booming assertions that they'd sue me into oblivion. Then Bradley came back on. "What conditions?" "First, full reinstatement of my cloud access. I want every photo, every video, every memory from my 8 years with your family. Those are my memories too, regardless of how things ended." "Fine. Done. What else?" "Second, the Hammond Foundation commits to building 20 schools in Guatemala. Real schools with real teachers and real students. I want ground broken within 6 months and completed within 2 years. 20 schools. That would cost about $10 million, a fraction of what you've stolen over the years." More muffled arguing. Then, "Okay, what else?" "Third, you admit what you did. All of it. The staged affair, the planned divorce, the charity fraud. I want a written confession, notarized and witnessed." "Absolutely not." "Then I'll see you on the evening news tomorrow. I'm sure the headline, 'Prominent Hammond Family Exposed in $50 million Charity Fraud,' will do wonders for your family brand." The line went quiet for so long, I thought he'd hung up. Then Margaret's voice came on, cold and controlled. "Hello, Iris." "Margaret. You always were too smart for your own good, or just smart enough to protect myself. We'll restore your access. We'll build the schools, but we will not confess to crimes we didn't commit." "Didn't commit? I have every email, Margaret. Every falsified document. Every stock photo you claimed was a school your foundation built. Would you like me to read you the email where you called the Guatemalan children photo props for tax write-offs? Silence. Here's my final offer, I said. Restore my access. Build the schools. And the Hammond Foundation goes completely legitimate. No more shell companies, no more tax havens. You actually become the philanthropist you pretend to be. I'll monitor everything through the cloud access you so graciously restore. If you comply, the dead man's switch gets disabled permanently. And if we don't, then in 21 hours, your family loses everything. Your reputation, your fortune, your freedom. Theodore's looking at 20 years for tax evasion alone. You'll be lucky to get 10. Bradley might get off with 5 if he cooperates. Little Vivienne will have to find another rich family to marry into. You're destroying our lives. No, Margaret, I'm giving you the chance to actually become the people you've been pretending to be. Build real schools. Help real children. Use your fortune for something besides buying your way into heaven while stealing from the collection plate. We'll destroy you. We'll sue you for blackmail, for extortion. Interesting legal strategy, considering everything I have is evidence of your crimes. Besides, I'm not asking for money. I'm asking you to donate to charity, which you've been claiming to do anyway. How does that look in court? Your Honor, she's forcing us to actually give money to the charities we claim to support. Yeah, good luck with that. I heard Theodore in the background. Just agree to it. We can figure out how to deal with her later. Oh, Theodore, still thinking 3 moves ahead when I'd already played out the entire game. One more thing, I added. The automatic donation system I installed 3 years ago. The one that's been slowly draining your accounts to fund actual charities, it stays active. In fact, it increases. From now on, the Hammond Foundation donates 60% of its intake to verified charities. I monitor everything. You try to shut it down, change the passwords, or delete my access again, and everything goes public immediately. 60%? That's robbery. No, that's philanthropy, something you should have learned about before creating a fake charitable foundation. Margaret's breathing was audible through the phone. How do we know you won't release everything anyway? Because unlike your family, I keep my word. You know that, Margaret. It's why you worked so hard to get rid of me. I was too honest for the Hammond family. Another long silence. Then, we'll need it in writing. A contract. Already drafted. Check your email. You have 3 hours to sign and return it, or I let the timer run out. 3 hours. Our lawyers need. Your lawyers are who got you into this mess. 3 hours, Margaret. Oh, and the access restoration happens now. I want to see it active within the next 10 minutes, or the deal's off. I hung up. 7 minutes later, my access was restored. The notification popped up on my phone. Welcome back to Hammond Family Cloud. I scrolled through the photos, seeing my own face again in family Christmas cards, vacation photos, wedding pictures. They tried to erase me, but I was woven too deeply into their history. 8 years couldn't just be deleted. The signed contract came back in 2 hours and 47 minutes. They'd agreed to everything. I entered the override code with 5 hours to spare. But I kept the dead man's switch active, just modified its triggers. Now it would activate if they missed a charitable donation, if they created new shell companies, or if they tried to delete my access again. The Hammond family would be the most generous philanthropists in the country, whether they wanted to be or not. That night, I got a text from Bradley. You won. I texted back, no, those kids in Guatemala won. I just made sure you couldn't steal from them anymore. He didn't respond, but I saw him typing for a long time. Finally, I actually loved you once, before Mother got involved. I know, I replied. That's the saddest part of all this. 3 months later, I attended the groundbreaking ceremony for the first Hammond Foundation school in Guatemala. Margaret had to stand next to me for the photo, smiling like we were old friends. The local press called it a revolutionary partnership between technology and philanthropy. If only they knew the revolution had started with a deletion, a dead man's switch, and a woman who refused to be erased. The Hammond family still has their fortune, their reputation, and their freedom. But they also have me forever embedded in their cloud storage and their charitable obligations, a ghost in their machine making sure they stay honest. They tried to delete me from their family. Instead, I became their conscience. And the best part, the dead man's switch is still there, waiting. They know it, I know it, and we all pretend it doesn't exist. Just like we pretend to be a happy, philanthropic family in all those photos in the cloud. The only difference is now they're pretending actually helps people.